spreads. The more muscles you have, the more fine-tuning you can do in motion and movement, right? So if it was just a couple big fibers, our movements would be very bulky and jerky. We couldn't have the real fine-tunedness, the real finesse that the body can perform. So we need a lot more of little ones to add the strength and flexibility and options, diversity for how we want to move. Okay? So you guys kind of get that a little bit. Again, same system. Well, what about my joint here in my shoulder? Okay? That's my shoulder. Here it connects up to the rest of my body. Here it connects to my arm, and of course to my elbow here. Because there's an equal energy exchange, the same amount of energy that comes down the center also has to return in the upper part. Okay? In order for that same amount of energy to be exchanged both ways all the time, this inside line needs to be thicker and more dense than what the outside has to be because it has more space. Okay? So if you look at my arm, all the muscles on the outside, which is softer, and the bone is on the inside, which is way more dense. The muscle in my arm and my bone each transmit the same amount of information back and forth. Okay? So now we just happen to have the exact same law that not only builds the individual muscle cells and the atoms that build cells and molecules, proteins. Now we actually have the shoulder joint and the elbow joint and the bone and the muscle in between that again run off the same law. That's your mouth. Those are lips. This goes into your lung. Okay? Again, breathe in. Your muscles expand. It pulls all this energy in. Okay? What does it do? It converts that energy. Converting oxygen into... Okay, you got it back in. And you breathe it back out. Capstone, pyramid. Okay, your lungs obviously doing the exact same thing. But your lungs, they don't look like a capstone. Of course, they look like a root system. Right? Just like the seed isn't really a seed. It starts to change into its root system. Well, your lungs turn into this root system too. Because the root system starts to break down into what? Memory systems. Remember that little tree shape that I showed you guys? Because that starts building a root system, right? When you do all this spot leads to these spots over here, and those spots lead to those spots, and so on, you get the root system. All different levels programming to tell the oxygen where in the body it's supposed to go. So you get even distribution of oxygen throughout the body. Okay? Even more technical than what that is awesome. Okay? If you got one area of your lung that's injured, it can't get energy to that one area. From having an injury, your lung can spread out into a certain area of the body. This is a cool type of research that could be done. You'd have to do it on larger amounts of people to identify which parts of the lung associated with other parts of the body. So yeah, I think they kind of something I'll never do myself. Something good for medicine, though, to really understand more of the memory system. Yes?
There's a woman who has lung cancer and it just spread to her brain, and they took a portion of her lung out, and I'm just wondering what you say with the breath, and when it's not functioning, it causes other areas not to get oxygen, so would that kind of go with what you're saying?
That can kind of go a little bit, yeah.
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 Sad.
The good thing about the body, too, though, is that there's always a backup. You always got backup files. So when there is a backup or when there is a major injury like that, it can take that same information and figure out a new, basically like reformat all the information for where it's going to go and then redesign a new program for it. But the hard part is everything will suffer then, just not as much as, or one thing completely suffering. Because if you don't have as much area or space to really map this amount of oxygen that's needed in the body out, you only got 80% of that space instead of 20% of your body just not working. It redistributes that, balances it back out. So now all of the systems in your body only get 80% instead of 100% each. So it kind of balances. It's a stabilization thing that's built inside the body too, as far as what the math and stuff says. There's more for the systems of anatomy. Oh, the heart one is a real neat one. We'll do the heart one. The heart one is neat because it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 different functions. 1, sucking oxygen out, or pumping out carbon dioxide, getting new oxygen, pumping it back into your heart, and pumping it out into the rest of your body, and then pulling it back into the heart. So it's actually a 4-directional kind of chakra system or pyramid type system. It uses 4 different layers of it. Your heart is one of the most complex organs because of that, because it's got the 4 different directions. Again, just same law. What about some external things? Electronics. Satellite. Of course, you can send or receive messages. Your box that hooks up to the satellite, which converts that signal into something that's a little more practical or usable, where now it sends that instruction out into your TV, which converts the signal into all these different types of lights. Of course, when you look at your TV, what do you see? This shape, circle, circle, this shape. That's what your TV looks like when you look at it real close. All little dots. They all look like this. Okay. So that shoots out. LCDs don't do as much because they're so flat now. But the older TVs, you had this, your TV tube which shot out the light into all the front of the screen. So the TV converts this signal from the satellite into all these different colors, into all their individual positions, and then of course it sends out all the different positions at the same time. And then next layer will send them out again, next layer send them out again. And the satellite signal also comes down into your amplifier for your music, which then sends it out into your speaker, which just happens to look like this, which capstone, and of course your speaker, which sends out little waves. Okay? Again, conversion to sound into light. It's kind of funny because the law is